Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Irish NFL show presented by Pundit Arena. We've had some amazing guests on over the last few weeks and months, both before and after the Super Bowl. This next guest needs no introduction. Star of NFL Network and also the Rich Eisen show on NBC Sports on Peacock, hopefully over here very soon as well. The man, the myth, the legend, Rich Eisen. Rich, how's it going, man?
How are you guys? Thanks for having me. And I got to give a shout out to Brian O'Leary. Shot is shot. I don't know how you got my email, but you sent me an email, and I'm thinking to myself, if there's an Irish NFL show and somebody reached out to me and found my email and sent this wonderful, missive and invitation, how do I say no? So here we all are, all five of us right now. Well done, Brian.
That's the nicest thing anybody said to me in a while. These guys don't talk nice to me.
Well, if we weren't socially distant right now, separated by thousands of miles, I'd hug it out with you right now.
Rich, there is no better feeling on that first Sunday in September than seeing your face on the screen week one after we went 7 months without football. And we're a little while away yet, and I guess this will do for now. Have you any Irish heritage yourself, Rich? Have you ever been to Ireland?
I have not. As a matter of fact, I despise Notre Dame. I don't know if that's a bad thing. Right here, I went to University of Michigan. So I have no Irish descent that I know of, but I do love the Irish people that I do come across, or anybody that I do know, and respect and admire the passion of the fan base. And I know, does that make you have to be a Steelers fan if you're living in Ireland? And okay, I'm seeing a lot of head shakes. And I'm sorry, you'll know when you interview me that I'm a host for a living. So I normally it's like a control thing. I'm sorry if I'm like asking you questions. I'll just sit back and continue on with you. Let you have your own show. So my apologies.
Well, you are a household name as a host, Rich, and as Michael alluded to, what a career that continues to go from strength to strength. But you have interviewed like NFL players, coaches, GMs. You've interviewed actors, comedians, and the president. Wondering if you could share maybe some of your favorite memories and some of your favorite moments from your time interviewing.
Well, I mean, I've been very fortunate to do what I do for a living. And, when I was offered the opportunity to launch NFL Network in 2003, the NFL had been a major North American sport in America for quite some time, but it was just beginning to reach its ascendancy as an everyday 24/7, 365 day a year conversation. As you had mentioned, Michael, before, that it's 7 months in between games. When I first launched NFL Network, or was part of it, the question was, what is the NFL going to actually talk about in those 7 months? Why would there be something that is a nonstop content generating machine for a sport that only plays 5 months of the year? And we got that a lot with NFL Network, but as obviously you can attest, having a show that we're talking about this sport right now in March, that right now things are beginning to heat up on the free agency front, and an absurd number of well-known NFL players are about to change teams. It's really going to be a fascinating ride over the next 2 weeks, leading into an NFL draft that leads into also the schedule being announced and more practices, if we can get through COVID best we can, and hopefully start a 2021 training camp season on time. It's really something that never stops. In terms of, what I've been able to do, just one thing in particular, it's, being able to talk every day. I mean, you were kind enough to point out the number of luminaries that I've been fortunate to have in front of me and interview. The Super Bowls stand out. The fact that I've been hosting a draft since the middle aughts has been something that I truly cherish. And I can't wait to get back at it.
Rich, I recall a great story from a few years back when you were in London with the NFL Network team and you went out for dinner. We're happening to watch a Jets victory against the Cowboys
Yes,
with Michael
Brian.
Irvin.
Yes.
And you've been fortunate now to commentate both at Wembley and at Tottenham for 2 games over 2 different seasons. Are you taken back by the enormity of the game this side of the world and how important it is to the fans here?
Well, I just love talking to you although, Mark, you and I have yet to converse, but I assume you'll unmute at some point and we will talk. But, yes, just the fact that, here you are, I'm sure I have an accent to you, you have one to me, and yet we're all bonded by a love of this sport. And I am blown away, certainly at Wembley. I know the historic nature of that stadium and the turf that we Americans ruin for all the footballers that get on the pitch afterwards. Fully well aware of that. Tottenham is one of the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium there is as good as any facility I've been in anywhere. It is state of the art. It was awesome to broadcast from there. And one of the things I particularly enjoyed about that was being told how Tottenham fans, because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were the home team for the game at Tottenham, Tottenham fans were basically eating it from Arsenal fans because the Bucks have Arsenal colors that were draped all over the home of Tottenham. And I particularly enjoyed that Arsenal fans were enjoying the Bucks putting us, not their colors, but Arsenal's colors in the stadium. And I have since asked a member, I since then went and chatted with some of the Rams organization subsequently, because I know the Rams, when the Rams play, they play in Wembley when they've come over. And I've told them, I'm like, you gotta try Tottenham. And they reminded me that the Rams are owned by Stan Kroenke, who's, as you guys are all nodding your heads, the owner of Arsenal, and he would never bring the Rams into the home of Tottenham for that alone. And I just love the cross-pollination of the fervor, the fan fervor of both our versions of football. And I know ours is the one that is more provincial rather than worldly, but I just do love, and I missed the UK games this year and can only hope that we can run that thing back in 2021 and that I do get to, the rumor is that we were going to have 2 games on NFL Network broadcast from the UK in back-to-back weeks, and we would stay there. We would call one and stay there, which is great because our jet lag getting out there, it's quite a bear. So I would love to spend time. Love it.
Well, I mean, Rich, the story obviously about the Arsenal fans. I am an Arsenal fan as well.
Is absolutely
true.
Loved it, right?
Loved it,
right?
Loved it. And of course, I mean, you're talking about the connections. The Bucks, obviously owned by the Glazer family, who also own Manchester United.
Yeah,
so
but the Glazers are a 4-letter word over there, right? Isn't it technically?
There might be some Man United fans that have some interesting views on them. We'll leave.
That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard.
But I love you telling us obviously about being in London. We're just amazed you survived dinner and probably the after party with Michael Irvin. That was probably a feat in itself, sir. But I'm fascinated by the fact, you've 18 years now with the NFL Network. And as you alluded to, when you started, like this was an insipid kind of cable network channel. People were questioning its existence in many ways. And now it's a behemoth and you are the face, you are very much the front of the NFL Network. You've now on your 4th president, your 2nd commissioner, probably about 14 Jets coaches in that time as well.
Yeah, well done.
So, but I think for fans all around the world, one thing that you do every year, and unfortunately you won't get to do, does stand out as a bit of a moment, which is you immaculately dressed in your suit, taking to the field in Indy and running a 40-yard dash. And, 6.77, I just want to remind you of, was your first ever time on that. I mean, that's even slower than Tom Brady, for Christ's sake. So
it is.
Did you ever think when you started this and you were just doing this
No.
for a laugh, it would be like, what, 15 years later, still doing
No,
this?
so to correct you, I was not able to do it this year at the Combine because the Combine was canceled due to COVID-19 concerns, but I am going to run it. I'm going to run it next month, and we are currently arranging the circumstances by which I can run, hoping to really kick it up a notch to raise as much money as possible for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, which is a wonderful campus and a heavenly place on earth in the state of Tennessee here in the United States, where children who are sickened by cancer and stricken by cancer come from all over the country and don't see a bill for any of the services, and the families come, so they don't see a bill for transportation or lodging, or of course the most important thing, which is the health care, which over in the United States costs money from people. So I just wanted to set all that up to say that when I first started it, it was not done at any point in time with the idea of it growing into anything, let alone anything that can actually be used to raise money for an important cause. It was born out of most anything in the profession of television or television presenting, which is sheer boredom, out of absolute sheer boredom. And it was Terrell Davis, Pro Football Hall of Famer, future Pro Football Hall of Famer, and at the time a Super Bowl MVP, who had just retired from the NFL. He and I were sitting in the stands of the old RCA Dome, which is now currently been demolished to make a parking lot for the new home of the Indianapolis Colts, Lucas Oil. We're sitting in there, and I asked him, you know, hey, we're bored. We got an hour and a half to record, or 2 hours to work recording our show for that night. Like, how fast do you think I can run the 40? He said, when? I said, now. And I was dressed in a suit, and he laughed. I cursed at him, and then went down on the field and ran in my suit and shoes, lace up dress shoes. And as you pointed out, I ran it in 6.77 seconds, and had no idea that the crew that was on break at the time did have somebody not only on the field with a camera, but also in our remote truck recording the event. And they surprised it with me that night on television and showed how slow I ran, 6.77. And then, you know, slowly but surely, we ran it a couple times that year, ran it meaning airing it a couple times that year, and coaches were now requesting to see it at my expense when they were stopping by to be interviewed. The following year, Mike Holmgren, who was then the coach of the Seattle Seahawks after winning a championship with the Packers, he said to me, are you going to run it again this year? I said, no, I think I'm going to get hurt. He goes, what are you doing? He goes, we want to see it. People want to see it. You got to do it. So I'm like, if Mike Holmgren's going to tell me to do it, great. So I ran it that year, and then a few more years later, and then actually hurt myself one year running it for a third time in dress shoes, and my hamstring basically exploded. I'm like, well, we can't air it. Mike Mayock, who's current Raiders general manager, who was my colleague on the air at the time, said, you have to run it. That's exactly what this is about. It's about being like everybody else. And we ran it then, and, you know, and I got out of the dress shoes, put on running shoes so I didn't hurt myself. And then for people who've seen it, the technology of overlaying a 40-yard dash from past years over the current year. So, and also from current players over my 40, added a very slapstick visual element to it that kicked it into the absurd comedy range. And then we turned it into a charity event, and now here we are. So I'm going to run it this year. It's going to be in April. I hope to run it fast. Good luck to me. I don't think I will, but I'm going to do it.
No, good man, and good man to you for obviously
Thank you, Mark.
Great calls with St. Jude's. And maybe you can
that.
get some hints from Dion Sandcastle or Jerry Rice Cake.
I would love it. Very well done. You guys are diehard fans of the sport. This
Yes.
is amazing. I love it. And the network too, obviously.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't even talk. We're very lucky. We can obviously watch a lot of the content now over here on Sky Sports. Rich,
Sure.
have you got time for one like quick fire question
Sure.
each? Is
Go
that
for
okay?
it. Yeah.
You're talking there about being diehard fans. You can imagine my wife's face when I told her in bed last night at 5 minutes to midnight that Dak Prescott had been he signed an extension, and I had to get out of bed to compose a tweet. It's difficult being a fan over here, but it's all good crack, as we say in Ireland. What's your thoughts just on that Dak Prescott move? As we've spoken there, Malcolm Butler's just been released from the Titans as well.
Oh, okay. So we're breaking news. I don't know. Let's just put it this way. I'm a little bit more dismayed about the state of your marriage than Dak Prescott signing with the Dallas Cowboys, if I may be so bold, Michael. But that's your business.
It's very hard now,
Um,
Rich, on a Sunday night between 6 p.m. and midnight to
no,
get Red Zone on the see the main TV. It's 17 weeks. It's difficult, but it works. It's worked.
it's okay. And God bless your wife. God bless your wife. For sorry, honey, I got to leave bed at midnight to send out a tweet about Dak Prescott. You are dedicated to your craft, sir, and I tip my cap if I was wearing a cap to you. Look, it's something that the Cowboys waited on, and it cost them some money. It's not like Jerry Jones is going to have one less trip on his yacht. I mean, so he won't miss it in terms of his money, and he doesn't care if it's going to cost another team the ability to beat him, and he doesn't care the cost if it gets him the fourth Lombardi trophy that he's been seeking since 1995. And Dak is the best quarterback for the job. The other quarterbacks that could be available to the Cowboys this year, if Dak wasn't the guy, I mean, that was never in danger. They would have franchise tagged him again to keep him on the roster. But the alternatives being what? Russell Wilson is not going to be leaving Seattle, I don't believe. And they wouldn't want to spend the draft capital or player capital to go get him, that they don't have to spend in order to re-sign Dak. So Deshaun Watson's not being traded within the state of Texas either, even if Deshaun Watson does get traded away from Houston. That's a pipe dream also. And the amount of capital that they would have to spend to get him is not what they're spending to get Dak. So it's odd for me to sit here and say that somebody who they just signed to a 4-year, $160 million contract is cheaper than the alternatives, but he is. And I just think the pressure will be on. I think he will handle it well because he's bet on himself his entire career. So betting on himself now is nothing new. So that makes them the favorites in the NFC East. If he is healthy, it makes them a favorite to go deeper in the NFC, and he's being paid like the Cowboys expect it to happen. So all in all, it's going to give all five of us on the screen something delicious to watch and feast on and talk about, which is, amazing. And unfortunately, though, what's your wife's name, Michael? Let's give her a shout out here.
I'm on mute. Lynn.
Okay.
Lynn suffers through Red Zone and obviously game day morning now.
And I do feel the need, Michael, that I need to point out to those who might be listening to this, that the delay wasn't you remembering your wife's name or recalling it. It was you to unmute your microphone to say her name. I want to have your back here. Okay. I want to have your back here.
Appreciate
that delay was not awkward, that you were trying to conjure up the name of your beloved wife. But she is going to have 3 a.m. wake ups because Dak's going to play big games. And they're going to be tweetable, tweet-worthy, win or lose.
Rich, one of the other, following on from maybe what you were just talking about, one of the other delicacies we are feasting on this offseason is the speculation around Deshaun Watson. And I know you've been discussing it on your show a little bit. What are your thoughts on the situation and where do you think he is in September?
Gosh almighty. You know what? I've been saying it like this. In the NFL, there's two doors when it involves, a player of this caliber. And door A is, let's win with this guy. And when it's a holdout, it normally deals with money. And it deals with money and it deals with contract. And let's hold this guy. We're going to stick with this guy. I don't care if he says he's not going to play for us anymore. He will miss a paycheck. And then at some point we will pay him and he will get paid and everything will be wonderful and what have you. And door B is the Godfather offer, as it said, the proverbial offer that cannot be refused, that teams will eventually give because they feel that door A will be untenable for various reasons, that the player really won't ever play for more again, or the team won't pay this player, and it's going to get ugly. There's going to be acrimony. It's going to be ugly. So let's offer a door B that will force the team to say door A is no longer as palatable. It's no longer as attractive as door B. Door B is so much better. The problem is for the Texans is that door A is not going to be fixed with money or security contractually, because Watson just received that last year. It's something that door A can only be fixed, apparently, is if door A is owned by somebody completely different. And that's not going to happen. So to me, there's only one door, and that's door B, that will, for the Texans, replenish the draft choices that were given away by the previous administration, whose replacements pissed off the guy sitting in door A. And also door B will also not only replenish the draft choices, but it will potentially fill your cup over that, because the teams calling in door B are desperate or potentially desperate, to the point where you also have two teams in door B potentially sitting there, although I'm hearing the Jets are going to just stay the course, but the Jets and the Dolphins are in the same division with each other. So, who's going to wind up with Deshaun? Should we prevent the other team from getting him? Is it possible the 49ers sit in door B? Is it possible the Bears sit in door B? There's a lot of teams that are sitting in door B that can be played off of one another to make this a much more palatable and attractive door than the door A that they seem to be jamming their heads through right now. I only see door B. The Texans apparently only see door A, and I don't know the answer to your question, if that makes any sense.
It does. It makes perfect sense.
Okay, so that's the way I feel about it. I don't know when it's gonna. I don't know the timing of it is going to have to be the draft, I think, because it certainly doesn't appear to be next week, which is what it would be for me, because many teams that sit there in door B to make their attractive offer might go away because they've already made a deal with another free agent. That won't be Deshaun Watson, but at least they made that move. The Rams are already one of those teams. They'd be sitting there in door B, but they went and said, screw it, we'll go make this deal with Matthew Stafford. Now they're out of the Watson game. So, and the Jets might be sitting there in door B right now, but in 3 weeks, they might actually meet Zach Wilson from BYU and fall in love with him and say, that's our guy. Why are we trading all this stuff for somebody who's already on a second contract, costs 9 figures, no matter how great he is? So.
Well, Rich, that actually brings me to my question, because I'm conscious you are a Jets fan at heart. And I listened to Peter King on your show yesterday morning, and he said the Jets are the most intriguing storyline of the offseason because there's 3 scenarios in play. One is to stick with Darnold. 2 is to go with the fast emerging quarterback in Zach Wilson, who this time last year was in a 3-way tie for the quarterback position in BYU. Or did they go all in with the chips and go for Deshaun Watson? As a fan, and what would you?
I don't know. I don't know. I just don't think. I'd love to have Watson, but the more I think about it, it just depends on how expensive he'll be. In terms of all the draft choices. You do have my colleague who I do the combine with now, Daniel Jeremiah. He basically said that the Jets are in a Noah's Ark offseason because they need 2 of everything. So, and I haven't seen Zach Wilson enough yet to have an opinion on him. It's just, I feel for Darnold because, many people began to sour on him. And then they soured on him for Trevor Lawrence, and then they soured on him for Deshaun Watson. And now many are souring on him for Zach Wilson. And maybe he just deserves to have things built around him. So I don't know the answer, but this is going to be, again, having a front row seat over the next 6 weeks is going to be pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, Rich, that the grass is always greener when you're still sitting there with a 23-year-old quarterback draft in the first round.
No doubt about it.
So it's
no question
about
strange.
It. I'm just actually thinking, and Brian mentioning you're a Jets fan, I can only imagine being also a alum. Tom Brady's caused you quite a lot of pain, but also quite a lot of pleasure back when he was in
well, look, my wife is from the New England area. I could not, when we had children, insist they become Jets fans for 2 reasons. One, because my wife and Michael, my wife would not be nearly as understanding by a midnight tweet as yours. Nor would she be as understanding if I said to them, you don't root for your mother's team, who's quarterbacked by the most perfect human being that my wife would absolutely leave me for. It would be a tough sell. Plus, child services would take my children away if I insist they become a Jet fan while Tom Brady was doing all the stuff he was doing for New England.
I was about to say the authorities would have a word, Rich.
We call it a win-win. We call it a win-win, Mark, and just chalk it up to that.
I mean, if it makes you feel any better, Rich, I mean, I'd probably leave my wife for Tom Brady as well. So, I mean, I can understand where she's coming from.
Everybody's on the same page.
Exactly. But look, finally, I did want to ask you, obviously, we've alluded a bit to the draft, and obviously we're building up now the excitement of free agency, then it's all the excitement of April. And you've been, as we said, the host of the NFL Network, you're there in the room. You're obviously in COVID times, it's a bit different. You've had the experiences and the fun of people like Mike Mayock, who was such an amazing analyst and obviously doing fantastic things, really, in terms of the team he's building there in the Raiders. And I still thought him and Gruden were going to get it last year, or maybe they'll get it this year. But in your experiences of the draft, is that something you look forward to, or is it something?
Oh, immensely. Oh, gosh. No, Mark, I love it. It's so great. It's my job is to, place you in my shoes. You're the fly on the wall with me, and I love the energy of a draft and the storylines that converge, of dreams that come true for the prospects and their families, the hopes and dreams of all the fans who think that who's just been drafted is the next Tom Brady and is going to answer all the dreams and all the love of everybody, making the franchise become a championship team. Like, everybody thinks their draft choice is going to be the winner. It's everybody's hopes and dreams revitalized. All 32 teams feel like they've just had the greatest draft ever. I do love being in the mission control seat of talking about who's next and what they need, and playing off and having fun. I do love it. I love all of it, and it's kind of the off-season Super Bowl, and I do have kind of a depressed feeling after that. But the best part about it is we are only a few months away from seeing it all cash. I can't wait for it. It's great.
I want Rich. It's one thing answering our request and coming on, but it's another thing being so glorious for your time, and we massively appreciate it, man. And you just mentioned in there about the first week of the season. I take you back to 2 or 3 years ago when you were shouting 41-year-old man Tom Brady. That's when it hit me. The season started. I couldn't believe it, man. But I can't wait till that day it comes back, and we massively appreciate your time, man. And you're more than welcome to come on, and we owe you a few copious pints of Guinness for your time.
Well, when I come back out to the UK, if you want to meet up, let's do that, and we'll do this in person. And I appreciate the proper send off, Michael. I was about to pull a Piers Morgan and just leave, but I'm more of a conventional goodbye guy. So
I didn't realize that hit the States. I didn't think that was such a big deal in the States, but yeah, it was.
Oh, yes.
Big over here this morning. So.
Well, Piers was on CNN many years. We all know who he is. So I don't like to lumber off a set and never to return. So I appreciate the proper send off here.